Hello, listeners, and welcome back to another episode of Toonkind at 12 frames per second, or Toonkind at 12 FPS. I am going to be one of your lovely co hosts and one of your lovely players for this FPS. Mikey, also known as Carmichael, also known as Mike, and I will be playing our lovely boy Scratch. Here with my lovely co host and co player.
Hey, it's JayJay, and I'm playing Wax today because Wax is the only person that I play in EGAD because I took Wes away. Oh, in a sack. It doesn't. Don't worry about it.
I'm sure Wes will be fine,
Wes is
whoever and wherever they are. I'm sure Wes will
he's
be fine.
Wes would come back for Silly and Spring Bean. Don't worry, Mac. Don't worry, Mac. Anyway,
And today we are here with the FPS, a responsible adult, quote unquote.
y'all got responsible adults over here. What's that like? I don't know any responsible adults. I
Oh,
know
the fact that
one.
the entire premise of this is already bringing joy to my heart. Wax was recommended by two small ceramic children known as Taekwonyin or Teacup and Matcha to try and find a few adults to help out. Is it his or their?
Wax is whatever you want it to be.
To help them out in their situation. However, they made two recommendations, one of which was genuinely reasonable, the other of which was not. One was a recommendation to find Ollie, but unfortunately for Wax, Ollie was a bit busy and so couldn't really be reached. The other recommendation was an individual by the name of Scratch. Now, according to the two small children, Scratch sticks around the treehouse same as them because he is also a part of EGAD, same as them. Though why they would have recommended Wax to see him is only known to the boys. It'll be interesting to fathom, at least on my end. With that being said, where would we like to start our story? In Scratch's perspective or in Wax's?
Well, I think first and foremost, I will say Mac is in fact here listening to this live and has announced that the cups told Wax to go find Scratch because they thought it would be funny. So
Uh, you know what? That makes sense.
that lines up. That tracks.
Yeah, that tracks.
I'm cool starting however you want it. Wax is. I guess if we were to start in Wax's perspective, they're still last in the treehouse because they have found two pieces of ceramics and a bucket. So they have yet to find any of the adults that have been recommended to them. So
Why don't we have Wax roll an investigation check to start?
oh cool. I don't know what any
The
of
very first roll of the session, boys, girls, and other worldly things. Let's see what the dice say for
it's
the
not
first roll.
it's not it's not it's not it's not great. That would be
It's
a
just,
5.
it's such a big, beautiful tree house with so much space to live in, so much pretty natural decor. It's just, Wax is just too caught up in looking at the scenery, not a God given thing stands out.
You'd think that after being here a couple days and just wandering around that something would be familiar by now, but
Everything is new and everything is wonderful for being new. And then we flash cut to Scratch, who is at the current moment. Let me, in fact, look at his sheet real quick to see what he would be doing at the time of this. We're gonna roll a d4.
uh,
1, he's sleeping. 2, he's coming back from fishing. 3, he's eating. 4, he's doing something a little different. He is sleeping at the moment.
rip.
Which would make sense, seeing as at the current time it is dead of day, at least in game. IRL, it is 4:54 p.m. and the sun is very slowly starting to finally set. But it'll be a while because it's the dead set of summer and the sun doesn't set until later.
The sun
Anyway,
doesn't set till 9 o'clock when I go to bed. Anyway.
but at the moment, since Scratch is sleeping, unfortunately, I do have to make a specific roll since he's sleeping.
That sounds sus.
If it's a heads, he's fine. If it's tails, he needs to make a wisdom save.
I don't trust like this.
It's heads. He's fine. He's just having a perfectly normal dream. Just a totally normal sleep because he's a nocturnal creature. And usually he, in fact, would like sleeping through the day if his schedule will allow it. And thankfully, he has no missions today. He has no assignments. Nobody needs to go grocery shopping. The boys are off having fun. He doesn't need to supervise them for 5 minutes. He just gets to sleep like...
Time out. They get supervision?
Well, they should. At least from his perspective. But anyway. Basically, he just has a free schedule. And he's using that to finally get back to sleeping like he normally does, which is sleep in the day, work at night. But with that being the case, I'll have to roll him a perception check to see if he hears Wax bumbling about, or if Wax is going to have to do something to get his attention. So what is his perception? Oh, he gets a +0. Of course.
It's better than the -1 I have in investigation. I love playing characters that have shitty stats, but at the same time, it makes me miss playing Drew because Drew doesn't have any negative modifiers.
Well, Scratch is enjoying the fact he's sleeping on schedule, so he's out like a gosh dang stone. He's probably in his bunk room, on his bunk, nice, partly covered by a blanket, partly not. Part of the sun is just soaking through the window and soaking his fur. He's not disguised, he's just sleeping. But that means we'll need another investigation from Wax before he finds him. He finds.
Whoa.
That was a confusing sentence, but it roll investigation, please.
It was a confusing sentence, and it was made a little worse by the fact that your mic decided that I get no rights, but I understand. I will say, do you have a reference of Scratch while I...
No, tragically.
Okay.
I have a reference of him in disguise, but not out of his disguise. I'm working on that to date, though.
You're so valid. That is a 10, which means that it's better than it was, but it's still not great.
Oh, that should be easy enough, because here's the other thing. He snores like a sawmill.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
If he's not... He has 2 different sleep modes. If he's sleeping comfortably, his snoring isn't that loud, but it's a mix between a snore and a purr. If he's just sleeping alone and he's just sleeping on his back, he snores like a lumber mill. So, as Wax is going through the house, he just hears this... It's almost a distant rumble at first, a distant growl. And following it, this seems to get louder until one realizes it's not a growl. It's a snore. A snore crossed with a chainsaw for some godforsaken reason.
Great. I think Wax will start making his way towards the source of the noise. Not really out of curiosity, more of worry, because the boys did say that they lived here. And after their last adventure, Wax doesn't think the boys should play with saws. So...
Understandable. Understandable.
Wax is concerned that one of them has found a saw. So...
Well, when you head up, and you do have to head up some of the naturally carved stairs in the treehouse, you eventually find a bunk room. It has a divider somewhat in the middle. That a divider is used loosely because it's mostly somebody's big-ass quilt being hung up by clothespins and turned into a makeshift divider between the 2 bunks. So there's 1 bunk bed on the left side of the room and 1 bunk bed on the right side. And it's divided by that blanket. But they share dresser cabinets. Okay. However, in the one on the right, you see a figure. Jet black in color for the most part. lacking any color otherwise. It's a completely black and white creature from a distance. And at the moment, Scratch is actually sleeping on his stomach, so his head is turned aside, and I will need you to roll a perception check, since you haven't approached him yet.
You're gonna have to give me a sec for all of these because I don't have. Unlike when I played Drew and I know a bunch of the stats like the back of my hand, I don't play Wax enough to have that down yet. God damn.
No, that's good enough. You at least notice some things from a distance. For example, he has what appears to be either light gray or white horns, which are going almost straight up but at a slight curve. One is about 5 inches in length and looks completely untarnished, while the other would almost be 5 inches but appears to be broken off at the end into a flat point with a couple of chips here and there. He has these tapered, pointed ears that are just sitting relaxed. He has. Let me coin flip to see which nose he's wearing at the moment. One is his heart-shaped nose, the other's the normal round one.
See, throw back to that comment that I made about not knowing anything about Scratch. I'm just sitting here like, he can change his noses? What?
Oh, that is a surprise tool that you will learn about later.
Okay, I say with fear in my voice.
His upside-down heart-shaped nose sits on his face, and his mouth sits to be open and drooling on the bed. There is no snot bubble dictating he is asleep. It is just a stain of drool on the bunk. His mouth is full of a mixture of sharp teeth and empty space. It very much looks like a cartoon fiend's mouth. And his eyes are shut. His eyelids have that shiny effect to them that shows someone is peacefully sleeping, in spite of the fact he's making a noise like an automobile.
Okay, there's like a door here, right, that Wax can knock on?
There is a door, but he appears to have left it open.
Well, I mean, I still want to knock on the door.
You can. It's just he forgot to close it.
Yeah, I still want to knock on the door to indicate that, like, there's somebody here now.
And you kind of see him sort of choke on the spit a bit before one of his eyes just blinks open. And I'm going to roll one fun little roll to see if something lingers for a moment. So that would be, yeah, okay, D20 plus 6. When his eyes open, they are completely black and white. There is no color. It's the whites of his eyes are white, and his pie-cut pupils are black. His limbs, which are just all akimbo as he's sprawled out in bed, almost look like they're meant to be made from rubber hose if it was covered in a short, thick, curly coat of shaggy fur, or carpet, depending. His paws are this dull gray tone with these little white claws that do look sharp even from a distance. And he just kind of... And he kind of turns to you for a moment. Wax, would you roll me an Arcana check?
Oh, fuck.
As he sits up.
Ooh, boy, I can't wait for this to be like another bad roll. Oops. Holy shit. It's a 10. Oh my god.
Not bad. That's not enough to immediately get what he is, but that's not bad. Because I need to roll him a perception to see if he can tell that you are not, in fact, a friend from afar, if he's still too fucking sleepy.
Oops.
But if you hear any talking in the background, ignore it, because my sister and her fiancé are in the living room. It's fine. But you shouldn't hear any, because you don't hear movies when it plays over the microphone, so my mic shouldn't catch the extra noise. Anyway, plus 0 to perception. Oh yeah, he doesn't even remotely think you're a stranger yet. He's just kind of... You can see the slow blink of the eyes. He's got some actually surprisingly pretty eyelashes when his eyes are just half lidded like this and sleepy. But can I help you?
I think Wax just sort of stands there for a minute before. Your name wouldn't happen to be Scratch, would it?
I'm gonna make him an intelligence roll real quick. Just for the comedic bit. It's not actually plot significant. This is a comedic bit.
It's for the funny ha-has. The hee-hoos, if you will.
Oh,
Holy
now
fuck.
you roll well. He sits there for a moment, and he says, of course, just can I help you? Because in his mind, he's still sleepy. He is expecting another EGAD member, like, oh god, I have the day off. Please tell me somebody isn't getting me up for a mission. As soon as he hears your voice, you see his pie-cut, round-looking eyes go real big and wide, and in a blur of movement, he fucking slingshots himself over to the dresser cabinet and grabs a beacon bowler hat and snaps it onto his face.
Wait,
The bowler hat miraculously somehow hides his 5-inch long horns and his pointy ears underneath, and the beak completely conceals the lower half of his face and just makes it look like his head is that of a black swan. Huh. Neat. Also, he looks visibly nervous and very wide awake now.
Wax says nothing about what just happened.
There is one issue, though.
Okay.
And you can even see it with your 10 on perception, because unfortunately, he didn't think that movement through.
Okay.
He is standing up. So you can see that his feet are an odd thing. They're similar color to his paws, but it's sort of a strange line where you can't tell if they're meant to be paws or hooves, based on how they look.
Okay.
And his tail, crooked as it is, ends in an arrow point. He does not notice that his tail is hanging out yet.
Again, Wax just sort of stands there. They don't blink.
I would be Scratch. Might I ask who was asking?
My name is Wax. And Wax pauses because she's trying to think of a polite way to phrase this. The two,
Did a friend send you, or am I going to have to yeet you out the window? I learned that word the other day, by the way. Yeet. That's a fun new phrase I've heard.
I'm getting war flashbacks to the last community center game I ran where Wick's character Kiki said "pog" multiple times, and I just had to sit there and take it.
Well, it does seem like Scratch isn't used to using the term. It's just like, okay, I learned this word, but at the moment you were activated by fight or flight, so talk quickly. Like, you can see it in his body language. This is like a cat that is ready to run given the slightest inconvenience.
Unfortunately, Wax does not know the meaning of quickly, so I was instructed to find someone by the name of Scratch. I was told that they were a competent adult.
Who the world gave you that idea?
2 cupheaded menaces.
Oh, the boys. The boys send you to me. And he kind of straightens up a bit, and he sort of reaches one paw up to scratch behind his, to scratch where his ear was before the hat hit it. Then he realizes, of course, oh, my paws and claws are visible. Shoot! And then he just, you watch him hold up a finger and quickly turn around and just start digging through his funny little pouch.
Mm-hmm.
And his tail is just swishing left and right. He has still not noticed that his tail is on full display. But he eventually reaches in and you notice he pulls out a pair of toony-looking white gloves, quickly snaps them on. He just quickly he almost snaps away he wasn't wearing a nightgown, but whatever he was wearing is gone now as he just quickly slips on a button-up shirt, rolls up the sleeves, puts on a vest. And as he's doing this, he goes, was there a particular reason that the boys sent you in my direction? You were looking for a competent adult, right? Was it a prank on their part? What did you need?
I'm looking for someone to tell me about EGAD.
Oh. And as he says, "Oh," you see, he kind of pauses in the middle of pulling up these white, well, not white, they're dark gray looking stockings. But when he puts them on, they give his legs the appearance of bird legs, kind of. They don't cover up the shape of his feet, but you notice his other hand doesn't appears to be holding a pair of bird foot shaped slippers.
Okay.
He appears to be putting on a disguise for his appearance.
Yep. Wax is just standing here. Fortunately for you, this is not the weirdest thing that has ever happened to them in this treehouse. So they just sort of stand there and don't really like comment on the fact that this person is putting on a disguise. They make no comment on it. They just sort of stand there and just, yes. So I've been looking for, and they sort of like rub at the, like they have like their huge hat on their head. They sort of rub at their head and just, more than one day for a competent adult. Instead, I found 2 pieces of ceramics and a bucket.
Track for the treehouse. Everyone's either on an assignment or out exploring some miraculous new place or going just creation knows where. And he's kind of hopping on the other foot as he's just putting on the other stocking.
Mm-hmm.
And he puts that on, and then you watch as he slips on the duck slippers, and now his legs look perfectly like bird legs. Complete with the funny little stats that he's actually clipping over top of the little bird feet. I would be able to tell you to a degree about EGAD, but I wouldn't be able to tell you much. My voice is still recovering, so I'm not the most talkative at the moment.
Any
It's
information
a
you
long story.
have would be helpful.
Well, how much do you know about EGAD? Daisy, are you wanting to go outside, sweetie? Yeah, you want to leave my room? You want to go to the living room? Okay, give me just a moment. No.
Brief pause for cat situations. This is a little jig that pisses you off. How is everybody? Am I winning? I don't know.
Okay, I'm back.
Where were we? Wax. Scratch just asked. Oh, Scratch
Yeah.
just asked what Wax knew about EGAD. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I know that it is a guild of adventurers. That's about as much information as I've been able to obtain.
The stereotype associated with it, wouldn't it?
I suppose it's one way of putting it.
He sort of stands up and he just, he tugs on the cuff of his gloves for a moment and glances himself over. Ah, I'm forgetting the bow tie. And then he reaches in and he pulls out this nice looking piece of fabric. Now, the thing I will note is his clothes are colored, but he's not. And I'm going to roll a d2 for the color of fabric he pulls out for the bow tie.
Okay, I also have to ask, is his tail still out?
Oh yes, it is still out, but Discord is low. It's slow. Give me a second. Okay, 1, it's red. 2, he pulls out what appears to be a piece of purple fabric, rather nice in quality actually. And then he walks over to what appears to be a recently purchased mirror, as it matches literally nothing in the room whatsoever, and starts very carefully tying it.
Wax again doesn't make any comment on it. They are aware that they just woke this stranger up in their own home, so they don't, they don't want to be rude. They just want to know what's going on.
Give me just a moment. It was intelligence, I believe. So Roll zone. Ah. Tragic but understandable. As he's tying the bow tie, while his eyes do just dwell on his gloved fingers, it's more to try and focus on tying it than anything that would come up. As he says, EGAD stands for Explorers Guild of Animated Discoveries. It is less a guild of adventurers and more a guild that hires adventurers. I would be more courteous to say it is a guild of archaeologists, explorers, and curious scholars than it would be adventurers. But it does magnetize a certain crowd to it, doesn't it?
A certain crowd.
We'll see. Folks at EGAD have a reputation for being phenomenally good at finding things. That's why I actually asked to stay here and see their assistance for myself, for personal reasons. And let me roll him a dexterity check to see how he's doing on the bow tie, real quick. That would be, yeah, just plain dexterity, that's a +3.
I see.
And the bow tie is tied with an expert flourish. He just sort of tugs on the pillowy little bows of it a bit, and just sort of beams at the success a little. His tail, which you don't even need a medicine check to think that the only reason it's crooked at the moment is because he is probably used to tying it up or hiding it, so it doesn't like that.
Mm-hmm.
But then he just turns to you and smiles, and it's the beak that smiles. His face looks convincingly like that of a swan. Are you curious about the guild because you wish to join?
That is half of the reason, yes.
And what, pray tell, is the other half?
I picked a bad time to take a drink of water. I am looking for something.
Good golly, me too. What would you be looking for, And as he says this, he saunters towards you but doesn't actively approach. He just kind of leans a little against the wall with one arm.
Wax doesn't move. They're still standing in the doorway and just, that would be my business and my business alone for the time being.
Understandable. We must remember to respect one's privacy before digging into their personal affairs. Of course, if you won't tell me what you're here for, then I can't say what I'm here for, but fine. I'm sure it'll come to light eventually.
They just sort of shrug. You can tell that's like, they don't really know you, so they don't really, not to sound rude, they don't really care why you're here.
Oh, no, that's okay. This is not, he is not asking in a manner that cares. From the body language to his curious look, he's asking for curiosity alone. He could not care. He could not give a shit.
Yeah, Wax does not care why you're here, and is frankly finding you a little sus. But will not say anything. What was the question? I'm sorry.
Would you like to get a drink? I fear a cup of tea would definitely help my throat, but since you woke me up, I suppose coffee would have to do. I doubt I'll be able to get to sleep anytime soon.
By all means, lead the way.
And he nods his head and he walks along. And for context, how tall is Wax?
Good question. Wax is 7 foot even. Because God forbid I could make any variation. I always have to be even.
Jesus Christ on a communion wafer.
What?
I said Jesus Christ on a communion wafer.
Yeah, which is hilarious because Drew, who is my main character, is 4 feet even, so
no, you're valid. The thing is, Scratch is 4 feet 8 inches. So in spite of you thinking he's sus, he is real short compared to you.
Hey, Mac, out of curiosity, is this how Silly feels around Wes? Um, uh, I think Wax will just follow Scratch to wherever it is that has the coffee.
Follow them along to, of course, there is a dining area on one of the lower floors that he heads into, and he plugs in the coffee machine and he goes for his particular brew. Are you a coffee creature yourself, or would you prefer a softer drink?
It does not matter to me. I do not have a preference.
Coffee it is. Coffee it is. And, of course, I imagine this is one of the coffee machines that has the little cup function that you can put your little cup of mix in and it just starts...
Like a Keurig.
Yeah, like a Keurig. Mostly because I do not remember how older coffee machines work, so those are the only ones I know at the moment.
I do, because my mom had one for like so many years, but we're not going to get into the specifics of how to make coffee right now.
And he picks up what appears to be a couple of small sepia tone looking containers and just pops one of them into the machine, cup underneath it, and just gets it started.
Mm-hmm.
And then you watch as he kind of glances around and he looks up toward the cabinet where you think the mugs are being kept.
Mm-hmm.
And he just takes a deep breath. Would you mind turning around for a split second?
Wax just sort of shrugs and just turns around.
Thank you. And you hear a skittering noise, and then the sound of the cabinet opening. There's a clink of ceramic and clay, and then the cabinet closes, the skittering resumes, and then you hear that sound like fur is withdrawn again, and something disappears.
Okay.
When next you look over, he looks perfectly normal, but he now has 2 mugs.
Okay. Wax is not gonna question that.
And he's just sitting there, waiting on it. Most of his disguise is on, but he doesn't seem either to notice or be bothered by the fact that of his entire disguise, he has forgotten the funny little feather skirt that is meant to hide the fact he has a fiendish tail.
Okay. Yeah.
But it's the tail does look a little happier to not be, smothered in cloth and feather for a change. It's actually kind of swishing here and there, this way and that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not swishing in a completely smooth way because of the whole crooked angles bit. It's a little snappy here and there, but it's trying. It's trying to sort itself out.
Mm-hmm. Is there like a dining table with chairs that Wax can sit at?
Oh yeah, of course.
Wax is
that's
just gonna
beautiful butterfly, huh?
sit down.
You're gorgeous. Sorry, we interrupt this broadcast to bring you a brief sighting of a beautiful tiger swallowtail butterfly outside my window. Oh, honey, you're lovely. It was nice seeing you. Sorry about that.
No, you're fine.
Back to the program.
Yeah, Wax is sat down at the table and is just waiting.
Mm-hmm. I do have to make him another roll, but again, just don't question it. This is not as ominous of a roll as earlier. This is a different kind.
A different kind of ominous. A different brand, if you will.
Roll zone. Please be polite. Roll zone is not. Understandable.
It's a 4.
Therefore, it is not being polite. I am going to roll a 1d2, though. 1, I stick to dice parser. 2, I actually use Scratch's physical dice.
Wax doesn't have those, so I just have to suffer.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
As compared to Drew, who has 4.
Eventually, the first cup of coffee is poured, and he pulls the mug out from under it and slips in the second one. And he doesn't even put anything sweet in his mug. You just watch as he turns around, leans against the counter, and even though it is piping fresh hot, there is visible steam rising off it, immediately goes for a drink and just relax. Like, if he looked tired before, if his eyelid still had that shiny aspect, it's gone now. He looks normal now. He looks like a normal tune now. Like, yes, the wake up juice. Good.
I'm getting like extreme war flashbacks as someone who frequently plays with Lao. God. Like in my head, I'm like, no, there's another one.
With who?
Lao, the bird in the wheelchair.
I do not have any idea who or what that is, which is probably for the best.
Anyway, I think Wax will just quietly sit at the table. They're not. They want information on EGAD, but they're also not threatened, but they are. There's like a hint of concern, or like the air is tense ever so slightly because Wax does not know what is going on with this creature, why they're acting like this, and why Ty and Matcha thought that this was a responsible adult. Because right now, Wax is not sure.
You finish that thought, the second cup of coffee finishes, and he politely turns the machine off, pulls up the cup from under it, and saunters over to the table and slips you your mug.
Wax.
If you would like to sweeten it with anything, do let me know.
Wax will nod and say, yes, that would be preferred.
Would you prefer sugar or cream?
They're gonna shrug. You can roll insight if you want.
You know what? Sure. Let's see if Scratch is good at insight.
Insight, my favorite stat.
If he turns out to be good at insight because of certain things, I'm gonna giggle. Dice Parser, do you just not like him today, or is it just because he's tired?
Anyway, that's an 8, so...
I assume that's a failure, flat out.
Yeah, Wax hesitates, and you think it's kind of weird. That's about it.
Besides, he's just gonna get you whatever you need, and you can pick. So, of course, he slides you over the little container that has sugar cubes in it. He pulls up a container of creamer, 2 different flavors.
Yeah.
Pulls up a very small carton of milk in case you want to put milk in your coffee.
I think Wax just kind of shrugs a little bit and picks up one of the things of creamer and just pours some in.
Once he's done with that, Scratch will nod and put the rest of the stuff away. And then he's just gonna sit. And you notice that when he sits, he does still lean forward just so the window that's nearby the table will still soak him in a little bit of sunlight as he drinks. And where the sunlight catches his fur, it does look like it doesn't necessarily lighten in tone, but there's change to the tone that you think if he had any color would dictate that a color was showing, but instead just shows a different shade of gray over the black.
Mm-hmm.
He takes another long sip, and he's just sitting there relaxing for a moment before he continues. If you're wanting to join the Explorers Guild of Animated Discoveries, Ollie would be the one to speak to. But I believe he's busy today because, and if I remember the quote from one of his friends, he has a date.
A date?
Yes, he appears to have a date with a certain someone, and that's why he's busy. It's rather nice, really, but again, it just means the treehouse is that much quieter, so... And of course, everyone else is on their own little quests or small adventures, or no shortage of trying to investigate ancient ruins, helping people out, whatever it is that they do. I'm just enjoying the fact I could sleep in broad daylight again and nobody tries to stab me in my sleep. And he just takes another sip.
Wax is concerned about that last comment, but will not say anything. He'll take a sip of his drink and just... I don't suppose you would know the name of Ollie's date, would you?
I believe that would... He kind of scratches his ear for a moment. Is it Theodore? No, that's not it. Not by a long shot. Theodosia? No, it's a TH. Thornton? Oh, yeah, no. Ah, I think it's. I believe if I. No, that's not it. Barely ever talked to the man. I believe I've dumped a bucket of paint on him precisely once. And that would be. If I remember correctly. No. And he's just going to sit there for a moment because, again, while he has coffee, keep in mind, you did wake him
Yep.
up.
Yeah.
You did wake him up. And so it's kind of processing a bit, piece by piece.
I think like as he's going through this and trying to remember, Wax will chime in. It wouldn't happen to be Thad, would it?
That was it. I don't know why I thought of Thud instead. Thud isn't a name someone has.
Wax shrugs because their name is Wax. Like, somebody could be named Thud. You never know. But you can roll another insight if you want.
+3. 10.
Okay,
Not much.
That's slightly better. You get the ever so slight feeling that Thad was the other competent adult other than Ollie that somebody had told them about, and both
So they
Thad
really are
and
just
Ollie
on
are
that
busy.
hot.
Yeah, you can tell that they are ever so slightly frustrated because out of their 3 options are busy. Granted, with each other, and Wax realizes they have lives. However,
Axe stuck with Scratch.
yep.
And Scratch takes another long sip of coffee. He's just sort of sitting there, just soaking up the smell, soaking up the sun. If you're concerned, there isn't a complicated process to joining EGAD. I believe, if I remember correctly, you get your most recent photo, you apply it along with certain information to one of the members' cards, and I believe speak to one of the 2 of them about making it official. But aside from that, just about anybody can step in and sign up. There's really no screening process. Is that the right way to say it? And they won't just let anybody in, but they won't judge you for where you came from, and that is rather nice.
I don't suppose you know when they will be back.
No, because I was asleep when they left.
Wax internally is just like, damn it. They're kind of at a loss because they're like, well, this has been helpful but also very unhelpful at the same time. Shit. I think they'll take another drink of their coffee and just, well, at the very least, this has been a more enlightening conversation than the last 2 that I've had.
Because one of them was with the boys.
That's one way of putting it. Wax didn't want to be mean, but you were mean first, so.
Oh, no particular offense to the boys, but as delightful as they can be, they are by and large unhelpful unless it involves beating the crud out of something. Or stealing something. They do seem phenomenally good at distracting people and stealing things. I'm actually rather sad that they're busy today. I was hoping to just head out and maybe just get some ice cream sundaes. Oh well. You can always get them some when they get back.
You can roll yet another insight if you want.
Nat 20!
Of course. So you say that they are good at coercing someone into stealing things.
No, not coercing someone into stealing, distracting someone. Basically, distractions or just being annoying on purpose.
Yeah, so you get the feeling that's what happened.
Ah. I think I'm beginning to understand the nature of your encounter. They didn't tell me anything about it, but I do hope they didn't get you in any trouble.
Well, considering you're the first adult that I've managed to find outside of them in the bucket, no, I'm not in any trouble. And for the record, the thing that they stole from the treehouse is back to its proper place. Why is my sink making demonic noises at me?
Thing that they stole. Did they steal something?
For all of an hour, yes.
I mean, I'm not too surprised, but still. I do hope it wasn't I do hope it wasn't one of all these cursed objects. I don't believe he keeps those in the treehouse. Keeps those in his house.
I will say it had at least Matcha thought it was entertaining. The effect of it.
And what was the effect?
Some kind of speech impediment. It made him sound like a ghost.
Oh, you mean it made them make spooky noises. I understand. Doesn't seem too harmful. He takes another sip. Could have been worse. Could have picked up a deck of cards. That means you never stop playing. Could have picked up a spooky board game. Could have picked up any number of things. But an item that just makes you speak like a ghost isn't the worst thing. Now, an item that makes you see ghosts, that would probably be a little more intimidating to a child. But still.
Out of character, I don't suppose Ty told Scratch what Wax did he?
It's an excellent question. Mac, our lovely friend in the audience, did they happen to tell Scratch what was done? Did they happen to? Because while I was listening into that one, I have no means of... It's entirely up to you whether they told... No, I don't believe we did. We did not cover it in that one. That one covered a lot of things, but that did not cover the fact that what happened to them happened. Probably because a lot of other things happened. So yeah, we can assume he doesn't know yet.
Okay, that's fine because Wax isn't gonna tell him, so...
Yeah, because if he found out, I'm pretty sure the tension in the air would get thick enough to cut like a Scooby-Doo fog donut.
A what?
Hannah...
Oh yeah, he can know eventually, just not right now. It's fine, everything's fine.
No, just like... The gag I was referencing was from one of the really old Scooby-Doo original cartoons where the fog was thick enough, Scooby-Doo got a saw, cut it into a donut shape, and ate the fog.
Oh my god. Okay.
Cartoon gag. But yeah, thankfully Scratch doesn't know, otherwise this conversation would not stay pleasant.
Yeah, no.
Because in spite of the funny haha of claiming he's a responsible adult, he is responsible in that he doesn't want anything bad happening to those boys right now. And finding anything about that out would quickly sour the mood for a tired guy like Scratch.
In retrospect, Ty is fine. Anyway, Wax will take another drink and just sort of finish off their coffee in whatever manner that is, because I have not been really keeping track of how many sips they've taken. And
it would take at least a few more sips to finish it, but if you want to say that cup is empty, by all means.
Yeah, and then I think they're going to get up and very carefully walk over to the sink and wash it out. But you notice that they don't take off their gloves when they do this. And you can roll perception or
I mean, I can roll it, but he's not going to ask questions about it either way because you saw him put on the disguise. He has other reasons for not showing his face.
I was gonna say perception or investigation. It doesn't matter.
Well, I guess a +2 to investigation. So sure, you know what? We haven't used investigation yet.
Okay, that's a 12.
Decent. That's at least decent compared to the others.
Yeah. Now that you are like actually like watching this person, you notice that pretty much all of them is covered in some kind of clothing.
Question it.
Yes.
I mean, again, cannot state enough. You saw him. So.
Yeah. Yeah. But they don't. You notice that they don't take off their gloves, which feels kind of weird considering they're washing a dish. But you know.
He's used to Toon logic. Toon logic tracks. Speaking of which, since Scratch has actually had his tail out, you can roll another Arcana check if you would like, since you have the tail to complete the picture of how he looked under the disguise.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy.
Arcana or religion, one of the two.
Well, I think it's the same. It doesn't matter. It sucks either way. Oof.
Maybe he's a tiefling. You don't know. Really weird looking tiefling, though.
Picked a bad time to take another drink. Yeah, I think Wax will just wash their cup and then turn around and sort of like, you know how like when someone like washes something or brushes something off, they like clap their hands and brush them off. You know what I mean? Just sort of like slapping their hands together. Wax will do that before taking a deep breath and just, I appreciate the information you've given me and apologies for waking you up.
I mean, if it wasn't going to be you, it may be the boys eventually coming back later and jumping on the bunk until they wake up again. They've done that twice. He takes another short sip. I may get used to it eventually, but at the moment, all they get is a startled amount of yowling and swearing. And it's weird that when I swear, my voice pips out, but understandable, I guess. Maybe? Yeah.
Regardless, I do appreciate the information. Maybe I will see you around here some other time.
Time you don't happen to catch me out of uniform. That would be embarrassing and presumably traumatic for the both of us. Wouldn't want any terrible misunderstandings. He says, as he still has not noticed his tail is completely out.
Wax won't make any comment on it and just sort of nod.
One last tip, though. I would at least recommend using a gentler form of dish soap when you're washing dishes with the gloves on. Otherwise, it could stain your gloves and you'll have to wash them.
Wax sort of looks at their hands and just, oh, these have been more stained than some dish soap will harm. That was a weird sentence. Basically, they meant that, like, they're already stained to hell and back. They don't really care right now. What was that? I say with fear in my voice.
Glances between you and the gloves for a moment, but it's not completely focused on you. Instead, he kind of glances from your gloves to his and just rubs his forefinger and thumb together for a moment.
Can I roll insight?
Sure.
Okay.
I do suppose gloves logic works differently for everyone, and if you prefer your gloves as is, then you wash them how you deem fit.
Oh, I finally get a good roll.
And as he reaches up and adjusts the bow tie again, which he didn't really do before this point, he just adjusts it once with both of the hands. There's something about that. You're not sure if it's the tone or if it's the difference to his beak's smile, but it's distracted. The eyes dwell on the coffee mug and dwell where you were previously sitting, but under most circumstances from your previous dismissals and misses, it almost would be easy to dismiss that as just him being distracted and just looking anywhere he can. But with a number that high, you're not sure.
Wax is going to tuck that little nugget of information away for later and tip their hat. And unless you have anything else, Wax is going to turn and leave. And
I feel I should warn you, by the way. I stuck some super gorilla glue on the steps leading up to the treehouse. You're going to want to slide down the. You're going to want to slide down the slide instead. If you go through the doors, you're going to get stuck.
I appreciate the heads up.
Slide is that way, by the way. And he digs a thumb down the hall toward where the slide exit / entrance from the treehouse would be.
And Wax will head in that direction away from the super glue. They don't want to get glued today. So
away from Scratch's funny welcome home prank for anybody going through the front doors.
Yep, pretty much. And with that, I think that's it.
And the last thing that Wax sees before sliding down and heading out on their own personal business is Scratch just sitting at the table in the dining hall. He's not drinking any more of the coffee immediately, but is just staring at the seat where Wax used to sit. Fingers sitting against the side of the coffee mug. Just staring. And that is the image that it ends on.
Hell yeah. All right. Thank you. Whoa, my brain shut off. Listeners, both present and in the future, for listening. Thank you, Mikey, for playing this with me. Holy fuck. Wax actually found an adult in this fucking tree. It only took them like 2 tries.
It took them a couple days. To be fair, the adults are busy with a lot of things, and I'm glancing toward the fact that they're going to be busy with some snake people on the 8th. But
yeah, I will say that I guess Fran counts as an adult, but Fran is also only a head. So...
Yeah, I figured that was Fran when you mentioned the bucket.
Yep.
But for now, I would also like to thank the audience for listening, and hopefully we will see you again in the next FPS and/or game. But for now, you have a lovely day.
Good times,
Bye-bye.
everybody. Bye-bye.